So, shall we start? Namaste to everybody. It's Happy New Year. First day of the year. So happy to see you all and share some thoughts of non-duality. You know, we started off wishing Happy New Year. Maybe we can take up about happiness to start with. If we examine very closely, you cannot really find a cause for happiness. You can find a million causes to be unhappy. So happiness doesn't have a cause. Even if you think there is a cause that has made me happy, actually it is the removal of unhappiness that makes you happy. So happiness doesn't have a causation. And many of you are very familiar with non-dual terminology already. Why it doesn't have a cause is because that is your natural state. If anything happens, some perturbance externally comes and disturbs the happy state that you are in. So normally you don't have to do anything at all to be happy. You only try to remove unhappiness. When you say you remove unhappiness, implicitly, there are three things hidden in that statement. One is, there is an action to move away the unhappiness. Whatever you may do, that's an action. Maybe I would like to meet that girl, or I would like to acquire this property, or whatever reason you may ascribe to, still, there is an action to be taken by you. The second thing is, action involves time. So I am right now unhappy, and after some time, when I do that action, when I take that action, I become happy. So there is a time lapse. The very implication of taking an action means whatever result you get is also time bound, because the action you take is within a time span. Automatically it means the result that comes out of it is also within some time domain or within time range of span. That means the removal of unhappiness and thereby getting happiness is always confined to a short range of time. So you again turn unhappy. So removal of unhappiness is not really a permanent solution to be in that natural state of happiness. That means external disturbances, so-called external, nothing is external really as we go deeper into non-duality, but the so-called external disturbances for our happiness keep on coming. So it's not building firewalls and attacking them that gives us permanent happiness. It is our remembrance that we are always happy that leaves us with permanent happiness. It's something like this. We are already in Hilde's place. If I just get into some sleep now and forget where I am and ask you, please take me to Hilde's place, what will you do? I mean, you can't take me any more than where I am. I'm already in Hilde's place. At the best, hello, you can tap on my shoulder and say, you are already at Hilde's place. So happiness is also like that. You are happiness and you are already there. So this recognition will leave us in that state of permanent happiness. We'll expand a bit on this a little later, but then I would like to introduce a few more qualities of what we are, because I see a few new people. Earlier on, we already said that we are not what we usually think we are. We think we are our bodies. We identify ourselves essentially with our bodies. If somehow we get convinced that we are not bodies because we sleep at that time, we are not there, or the bodies at least are not there in our awareness. So we may think we are our minds because we keep thinking with mind, and we think there is an object like a mind there, and we identify ourselves with mind. So non-duality's first teaching is you are neither your body nor your mind. So what is it then? Who are you? The first answer that comes is whoever is aware of the body or of the mind. So what is the content of the mind, or what is the shape and size and dimensions or qualifications of the body, or that becomes immaterial. So whatever you detect or perceive, see, that's not what you are. For example, I see the wall, I see the fan, I see the table, I see the floor. I see my body also. So if I do not claim that wall or this table or the carpet as me, why should I claim this body to be mine? There is no reason at all. So what you perceive is not you, but your very quality of being able to perceive is that what you are. And that quality is essentially known by us by two, what word should I use? Two descriptors. One descriptor is my beingness itself. I need somebody to give me an evidence or a proof for the existence of something in my house or something outside over there, whether it exists or not. But for my own existence, I never need any proof. I know I am. So this is totally a self-evident issue about my beingness. Similarly, I also am aware, I am conscious. Whether I am conscious or not is again self-evident. I don't have to seek somebody's advice or guidance. So this self-awareness or consciousness or beingness, this existence within what I am, these two also don't require any external proof. So whatever I call myself to be can then be described by my beingness and my knowingness, ability to know things, including my thoughts. I may think of some nice dinner or a beautiful bungalow or a fabulous automobile. Doesn't matter what that thought is, but I am aware of that thought has occurred. Similarly, whatever object is around, I perceive, I see with my eyes, is immaterial. Still I am able to see. So the basic qualities of being aware and being present, that existence, these are two descriptors for that whatever is I call myself to be. So the shorthand symbol, sign or representation is I, the letter I, which I use for denoting myself. That I has these qualities of beingness, I am always there. I never get a doubt whether I am there or not. And also knowingness or being conscious. I never get a doubt whether I am conscious or not. In fact, these are consciousness and beingness, even though we are talking as if they are distinct two entities. In fact, they are not two. It's the same thing. Like saying fire is hot or fire is bright. So that brightness and being hot, they are not different entities. They are what fire is. Similarly, what I am or what I is comprises these two things, knowingness and beingness. Happiness is its third quality. So these three qualities of beingness, knowingness, and happiness, they describe what I am really. Just like I don't need any proof for my own beingness, just like I don't need any proof for my own awareness, I don't have to need any proof for my own happiness also. So these three descriptors are called as the intrinsic qualities of I, or whatever we call me. But we do the mistake of identifying this so-called me with this body or some limitations, some confinements, and we say I am that only, or I am an engineer, calling myself as an engineer or a surgeon or a carpenter, driver, doesn't matter what I call. That's also limiting myself. Unless I delimit and contract myself to a little body here and keep everything outside external to me, there is no reason to be unhappy. So basically, I am mistaking my intrinsic qualities of just the existence, the consciousness or knowingness and happiness to be other than what they are. So we don't have to really run for happiness. That's what we are. It's our natural quality, just as this being conscious of things is my natural quality. And that's what I am. And this I has another quality, as we have seen last time. It is immortal. It doesn't die at all. It doesn't have death. We normally are accustomed to a birth and death of things because we see something suddenly appearing and we say it has taken birth. Like until some 1970, you are not born. I am born in 1970. So before that, this particular shape or whatever it is was not existing. So we take it as birth. So sudden appearance of something, we take it as birth. And then it disappears again, we call it as death. In fact, this, whatever is aware of that birth, or whatever is aware of that death, that has no death or birth.
That is what
That doesn't have a birth or death. Like last time we have seen that if somebody walks into this room, I must be sitting here already to know that somebody has walked in here. Right? Like that, if something is born, that awareness must have been pre-existing there, that something is already born. So that's what you are. But we think we are born in certain time and die in certain time because again we identify with an ephemeral change in shape. Last time we have examined it, but quickly I will cover that again. Suppose there is gold. You can shape it into a ring today, or change it into a bangle tomorrow, or make it into a necklace. What shape it is immaterial. Basically, gold is there all the time. We give more importance to the shape, which is ephemeral, which is temporary, but we don't perceive the gold, which is always there. So the gold doesn't change, even though I may change it into a circle, bigger circle, or a oval, whatever shapes I may change and call a different name to these shapes, it remains still gold. Like that, my beingness, my consciousness, my happiness doesn't change at all. that unchanging quality ever stays there, and that is me. Only these changing shapes may come and go, but they are totally unreal in the sense that they don't have permanent existence. We identify ourselves or this so-called me, I, with that some shape which is by its very nature is not real. It definitely has a date or time of birth and a date or time of end. And we call that span in between as life. No, that's not really the actual picture. I am always there. Let us say, take this example of sun. When the sun rises in the morning, that means that's the sun, that's the birth of the sun. And when he sets in the evening, even though we have the names of sunrise and sunset, in fact it's comparable to the birth of the sun in the morning and the death of the sun in the evening. But all of us know sun never dies. It's always there shining. So like this, these shapes keep changing. Even as it is today, when we are all sitting here, when you were in your mother's womb, you were a little fetus. Before fetus, you were only a single cell, combination of the parental sperm and ovum. At that stage also you are so-and-so. Right? But if that fetus were to speak, it would say, I am Ramesam. But today, where is that? Or you go with more familiar way. You can remember when you were a little 3-year-old child, very chubby, bubbly, and jumping baby. Where is that baby? That's already dead and gone. But I continue, you continue. What is that you? Obviously it's not the changing body. Even as we are talking and discussing here, every minute something like 300 million red blood cells die. And there is a constant change taking place in my head, in the neurons. I think the half-life period of the neuronal cell wall is something like half an hour or something like that. The cell connections is so changing very fast. So the person who has come and sit here a while ago is not anymore the person even now sitting, or would go away at the end of this talk. So we are always dying in that way if we identify ourselves with that temporary shape. You are not that little child anymore. You are not that what you are today, and you will not be what this shape is tomorrow or even the next minute. But we are not that changing shape. So what we are is that immortal consciousness or knowingness, beingness or presence or happiness, or what it is called, in other words, bliss. So this bliss or happiness is basically our quality. Just as we confine ourselves by mistake to this little appearance and keep the world away from me, so I think I know what exists out there upon me, what exists out there. So we keep knowingness in this contracted body and existence or beingness outside. That table is there, or this body is here, something else is there. So existence we keep outside, knowingness we keep inside. But they are all one. When you understand that they are both one, and that understanding itself is happiness. So there is nothing we can do for happiness. So whenever a wave, a ripple of unhappiness comes, when we understand that we are already that happiness, this ripple will attenuate by itself. Instead of letting it attenuate by itself, what we normally do is, we identify ourselves with this little contracted, limited dimension and try to fight that wave. And this little contraction, as I said, is an imagination only. So an imaginary, non-existing thing tries to fight with a ripple that might have occurred or may not have occurred also. Even that occurrence of the ripple could be another imagination. So two imaginary things. One imagination is my contraction into this body. Another imagination is a ripple which is disturbing this imagination. They keep fighting and we identify ourselves into that fight, and the issue becomes unresolvable. Because when imaginations are there, what can you resolve? If I say there is a pink element sitting below your chair and throw it, what can you do? There is no pink elephant, you can't lift it and throw it. So the imaginary thing, we have to only say, oh, hello, there is nothing there. You're okay. So this constant reminder is required rather than taking any action of meditation, dhyana, yoga, all sorts of gimmicks and exercises, tantra. None of them are required. Well, they are required to some extent to give you a healthy body and a healthy mind, so that you can analyze yourself, all these things in the world, that what you are and what the world is. So Advaita never recommends any actions at all to be done. Because as I said, actions always involve time span, and actions go with some result. And the results are also equally time bound. Because actions are time bound, the result of the action is also time bound. Normally you do actions for 4 reasons. To produce something new which is not there, or to go from here to somewhere else, or to clean up things like you cleaning the car, cleaning the house, or to modify or improve or grow something. But here, happiness being yourself, it's always present. It doesn't require any action. Because action, as I said, has to be done for something which is not here. Either you have to go somewhere, it is not here. You have to produce something new which is not here, like producing the corns or producing the food, which is not here. So you do some process and produce the food or some other thing, or manufacture a car. So action is required only to produce something which is not there, or to go somewhere else because you are here and you imagine you have to go there, or to improve on something that you have some add-on facilities, or to clean up things. But your own happiness being already what you are, you don't have to do any action. So no yoga, no techniques, no methods, no processes are recommended in Advaita. So Advaita but gives you a few tools. Your own deftness in operating these tools will carry the message to you as fast, as simple, and as directly as you can. So your own deftness and analysis, that is required in Advaita. So the tools provided are, as we have seen last time, the seer-seen analysis, discrimination. There is a difference between the seer, one who sees, and what is seen. That is one. Then another is called superimposition and sublation. The famous example is the snake rope simile. We mistake a rope which is lying there in twilight, semi-darkness, to be a snake. When I see the snake, that is real to the extent it produces a fear. I jump back, shout for a stick or help. As long as I am seeing the snake, it is real. But on a closer examination, by somebody bringing a light, snake is not anymore there. Nobody really removes the snake. So non-duality does not remove the snake. It just establishes what truth is. If I try to remove the snake, and if there is still that fear or misapprehension in the person, he will say, maybe it is a water mark there, a streak of water flow. If I say, no, it is not that, then he may say, no, it may be a piece of cloth lying like that. So this misapprehension continues. But if I show the light, the snake is automatically gone. And that is what non-duality is. Non-duality is that teaching which establishes the truth, the fact. It doesn't give you any process. One of the other important tools in non-duality is the analysis of the three states of our mind: the wakeful state, the dream state, and deep sleep state. These three states we are very familiar with. Nobody here, there is nobody here who doesn't know these three states or who has not gone through these three states. Wakeful state is what we are here. Dream state is when the body is tired and takes rest, but the mind keeps functioning. Deep sleep is body and mind both are at rest. So non-duality tells you that there is some awareness within you which is like a background behind all these three states. To make it very simple, let me give you this model. Maybe Jordan has already seen that model in that book. See, we are all familiar, we have a body which comprises of various organs like hands, legs, trunk, neck, forehead, whatever it is. And also the sensory organs like eyes, ears, nose, gustatory, taste, and so on. So which are physically visible. So the ensemble of all that we call as body. And then we also are aware that we have emotions, feelings, thoughts, qualia in general, memory. So an ensemble or the group of all these things which are invisible, we feel we have them. Let us call it as mind, just for operational purposes. So we are very familiar with these two entities. One is the group of organs called body, and the other is group of intangible things, thoughts, images, memories, feelings, emotions, qualia, that called as mind. So these two entities we have, body and mind. The body and mind can have two states. They can be active or they can be at rest. Right? There cannot be any other stage. It could be either in a state of rest, totally relaxed and not doing anything, or they are active and functional. So two entities, mind and body, and two states being active or at rest. By combination, 2 times 2 can give rise to 4 outcomes. There cannot be a fifth outcome. Agreed? So 2 times 2 is 4. So what are all these 4 outcomes? 1, body and mind both are active. And that's what our wakeful state is. Our body is moving, breathing, we are aware of it, it is sitting, we can feel the sense of touch, hear the sounds. So we are active with our body, and we are also mentally able to grasp the sound, work out a meaning for that sound. So our mind is also active. This is our wakeful state. When you go to sleep, if you leave the first dozing part, then comes the deep sleep state. Both body and the mind are totally at rest. You don't even know that you exist. So that is the deep sleep state when both body and mind are totally at rest. So mind actually folds back. The third stage is, after deep sleep, we get into the dream phase. In fact, as many of you may be knowing, every night we get into 4 or 5 cycles of these 3-4 states, like being dozy, then deep sleep, then dream state, then we again wake up. So this deep sleep is when body and mind are at rest, they are not active. Third state is when the mind is active but body is at rest. What is that state? That is the dream state, because your mind is throwing up all those views internally to you. It's creating a dream world for your enjoyment. So that is the dream state. Then what is the fourth state? Have you ever wondered that fourth state has to be when body is active but mind is at rest as if it's not there. And mind you, for getting up from sleep when you are awake, or to fall back into sleep, either deep sleep or dream state, you don't do anything. There is no effort involved. Do you decide, I will go into deep sleep at this minute and then try to get it? No. It automatically comes. You don't have to do any effort. There is no technique there. There is no process. You don't keep an alarm bell and say, I will start dreaming at that time. And when the alarm rings, well, there is no dream at all. So these 3 states happen by themselves. Then the fourth state also must happen by itself. When the body is at rest, body is active and the mind is functioning. No, I'm sorry, I spelt it wrongly. When body is at rest and mind is functioning, that dream state. After that, when mind is at rest and body functions. So that means without a thought kicking up the body to take some action, action should go on. Or let me say it again with an example. A thought comes, I should have tea. So the thought has triggered to produce an action in the body. So thought is normally necessary for action when we are in the wakeful state, right? But then can the body continue to act without the mind triggering any activity? Mind is totally at rest. Body has to be still active. What is that state? Are we missing it? Why are we not recognizing it? That fourth state is really the state which is our natural state. There, the background awareness, consciousness, beingness, happiness, that is functional, and by its force or inbuilt nature, things move, including your body. So here what we have to do then is let that fourth state also function as it is. Again, this particular tool of analyzing these 3 states in greater depth, which we will see in a little while, will also answer another problem that we normally face. That is about this world, how this world is getting generated. Earlier, we already said, we are not these things which we see, but that seeing ability in me, that's what I really am. And then we turn that logic around, last time at least, that it's not merely that dimensionless entity that I am, but whatever is around and I perceive and feel, that is all me. I don't have to get into that because that's a bit longer explanation, but you remember, I guess, that what I am is not only that dimensionless, qualityless, attributeless ability to know, to exist, to be happy, but also whatever is around. Yeah, or very quickly I will touch on that in this way. See, how do I know I am conscious? I know I am conscious because I see the things around. I hear the sounds. I feel the body touching the sofa. So all things around are telling me I am conscious. Right? When I see a wall, a fireplace or whatever it is and say I am conscious of it, my consciousness is appearing in that shape. Right? Otherwise I have no way to say I am conscious even. So it's rather than the object I am seeing, if you forget what that shape, size, dimension, quality of what is perceived, the seen, if you just confine to the raw feeling within you, just that seeing, whatever is seen, that is telling you you are conscious. So this consciousness is appearing as that. Right? Or it's not convincing. Do you like to raise a question here or okay?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So you're saying that you're seeing something, and since you're seeing something, you know that you are conscious. But are you really conscious of that object's existence or yours own? As in, even if I don't see anything or don't hear anything, and I'm at some place which is very quiet or something like that, I could still be conscious of myself, right? Or not?
No, there also you are aware of the silence. You are still seeing the silence. If I close my eyes, there are no objects, but I still see the darkness. I am aware of the darkness. Right? So it's not necessarily that you see always an object.
Okay, not seeing anything is also a kind of seeing.
Is a kind of seeing. So what I am now suggesting is, don't even try to go to that second level of naming, describing what you are seeing. Just stay with that sensation of seeing. Okay, let us do that little experiment, then maybe we will open up for a little questions and on that. I suggest you relax totally. As I said last time also, normally we have tensions in the calf muscles, thighs, hip, relax the shoulders, neck, forehead. You know, these are usually the places of greater tension. Totally relax, lie down, just lean back. And feel the touch of your chair. What exactly do you feel in this touch? Do you feel a chair and a hand? If you very critically observe, you are not identifying really a chair and a hand or a palm. You have only a feeling of touch, some tingling sensation. Don't even call it as touch. It is just a sensation. And can you identify where is this sensation felt within you? Whatever you are, can you identify where this sensation is felt? Don't suddenly name it, I feel it in my head or in my brain. I mean, that is all unnecessarily naming and later interpretation. Just examine very critically the raw feeling. I don't even know what is producing that sensation of touch. Even though I am calling it as touch, it's something. Some message, some signal has gone. You can't really locate where that signal is felt. And if you don't start naming the table or the chair and the hand and all that, just stay with that feeling. That feeling has no name. Right? Now, if you open your eyes and look around, you see objects. Now you stay just with that raw feeling of seeing only. Don't name all these sceneries, light, wall, chair, people. Just one scene and one seeing. Right? Can you now follow so far? So the raw feelings of touch or seeing are the things that are happening. And that's what you know. That sensation is what is known. Or do you feel you are a separate knower there, sitting and feeling this sensation? Can you split that raw feeling of sense? Okay, now close your eyes again, that will be easy if you concentrate only with one sensation rather than two or more. So if you close your eyes and feel again the touch, is there a separate knower within you who is knowing that sense? You can't split like that. Only that sensation is there. So at that time of sensation, without describing it, without qualifying it, without labeling it, without naming it, saying it hard or medium or soft, if you stay with that sensation itself is the knowingness you have. And that's what you are. There is no separate knower sitting here and feeling that sensation. The sensation and the knower of the sensation is same. And that happens not in any confined head or body or anywhere. It occurs somewhere you can't even name, in any place. So the sensation is felt somewhere in some space and it has no name or description. And whatever you see in your wakeful state, even with eyes open, that is a visual sensation, nothing more than that. But we are so much habituated to name, fragment the one whole experience of that sensation into various objects, identify them with various functions, and then get lost in these separations of objects and me as the knower. If I don't do all that processing and just stay with the sensations, it doesn't matter whether sensation is there, called wall, or here called a man, just a visual sensation. Can you feel it? So if you just stay with these sensations, really speaking, you cannot even claim this sensation which is coming from this couch and these thighs is mine, and that sensation coming from over there is not mine. That is also purely an artificial distinction we keep building. Right? So if you stay just with these raw feelings, there is nothing like a me sitting here confined to this body and having an antenna which is feeling all other things. So even if you are feeling a sensation, that is you. It's not different from what you are. That is the basic you, that I am, that amness, that isness, that beingness. This beingness is going along with that knowingness. So beingness and knowingness are together, and at that moment you do not lack anything. Right? You do not lack. You don't have any desire to be fulfilled. So when there is no desire to be fulfilled, that itself is happiness. Because nothing is there outside you which you have to bring in to fulfill yourself. Unless an imaginary mind or ego comes in between tries to separate out things. It's the ego and the mind which keep objects, name them, and say they are separate from you. Did I answer your question, or we are still somewhere else? Yeah, oh no, let us be very clear, because we don't have to be compromising here.
It will probably keep on building up, I think. I don't expect.
Let it build up. No, don't wait for anything. Right now, this understanding has to be very clear, because it's so simple. Okay, if I don't start using my mind in terms of interpretation of that raw sense, as a feel of the table or a chair or whatever it is, that sensation is what is known by me. There is nothing else. And there is no separate knower who knows that sensing. That sensing and knower are one. Right? And you are the knower, so you are that sensing, that sensation. So like that, apply it to visual sensation, it becomes a bit difficult for visual. You can do with touch more easily, then you can progress to the auditory sense. There is some hum that is going, of AC or fridge is going on. I don't have to separate it out as some sound from this sound coming from this mouth here. It's all just one sound. But by habit, we fragment them. Even fragmenting into 5 senses is also a habit. There is no reason to distinguish the visual sensation from the auditory sensation, from the tactile sensation, or the gustatory or olfactic sensation you have. All sensations are just one whole sensation. And that one whole is you, the knower, the sensor. So this way we have seen, even though we started saying that you are not really what you perceive, we folded it back to say, full circle, that you are everything that you see. When you are everything that you see, you do not lack anything that you have to acquire and add to yourself. Even if a thought comes to me, that's also an object. So I'm aware of the thought. Don't go into the content of the thought. Okay? Just like don't go into describing these walls or chairs and all that. If you don't go into the content of the thought, is a Mercedes-Benz or some Hollywood actress or actor, if you leave only with that thought, you also recognize the thought. So you sense the thought. So whatever is happening, including the sensing of the thought, is you. So you have appeared there as the thought. That sensing has appeared as thought. That awareness has appeared as thought. So when I don't fragment into various sensory elements, visual, auditory, tactile and so on, and take this whole thing as one, and you are that, what is there to be acquired further? There is nothing else. When there is nothing else to be acquired, that itself is happiness, lack of desire. See, if I have something else which I don't have, if there is something else out there which I don't have, I have to acquire it, and I feel unhappy until that happens. So this separation through a desire is the reason for unhappiness. And when I understand there is nothing outside me, I don't have to desire anything, I am already happy. Similarly, love also is a separation by distance. Well, I tell you a small story. Once Swamiji in his lecture said this: why do you shout when you are angry? I mean, the person is right in front, but you shout as if the person is somewhere there. But when you are in love, you don't even have to talk. You just hug and completely meld into one another. You know? Why do you have to shout? Because when you are angry, the anger places the other person at a distance. So absence of distance between two persons is mostly we are aware of as love, but love doesn't have to be only between persons. It could be between a table and a man, the world and me. So that when I know the whole world is me getting reflected, so there is no separation. I'm in love. The whole thing. I mean, you don't have to call it love. But normally love in psychology means something different. As we described last time, it's age-related, hormone-driven. But hormone-driven love is something which is operating at the level of the mind. But here when we are talking about that love, that is total identity, oneness, absence of separation. So absence of desire is happiness, absence of separation is love. This is what we discussed last time.
Absence of desire
is happiness. Because lacking is not there. There's nothing which I lack and something that exists out there.
Okay.
There's nothing like out there at all. Everything is me.
And the second one was
Is absence of this separation, a distance. Because everything is me. There is no distance between me and the table or this horse or that lady or this person. Everything is being one. That's real identity. That's why you see, I mean, everybody is married and, I mean, it's a vulgar example, but if you don't mind, we are all adults. In orgasm, at that moment, you lost your identity totally. You forgot who you are or what is the other there. So the absence of that ego of a separate personality, which is separating you as two individuals, is real love, that oneness. This is a normal day-to-day life example of that oneness. But that oneness there, as Pittsburgh University people showed, goes by touch and sensation of touch and so on. It's driven by that. But this love here, when we are talking about, is not sensation driven at all. It is total recognition of absence of distance between any entity or entity. I mean, there are no entities at all, it's all oneness.
absence of distance.
Distance is that love. So the ego is the one which brings this distance. The moment whether this person would like me or not, or maybe he will dislike me, or maybe he's, this ego thought process builds. Ego is nothing but a thought. When this thought process comes, the separation is already building up. So it's actually, if I am not able to love somebody all the time, it shows my ego has propped up. Ego is under thought. It may be a form of a doubt. It may be in the form of diffidence. It may be taking any form, doesn't matter. So ego is that little perturbation. But the unfortunate part is this awareness, knowingness, beingness, happiness within me does not know its own self unless it looks into something outside. Okay, let me give you another example. We all see everything with our eyes. But can the eye see itself? The eye, E-Y-E-I. It can't see itself. Because anything seen by the eye is not the eye. You need a mirror. Right? Then only you see an eye. In fact, you are not seeing an eye. You are seeing an image of the eye. Now, you add a lot of dust onto the mirror. Can you see yourself clearly? No. It will be a very fuzzy image of yours. Then suppose the mirror is very much undulating like this. Then your face will be further disoriented, corrupted, right? So if you have to look at a mirror, The mirror has to be very clean and should have a stable, plain surface. If it is corrugated, undulating, you don't get a clean image. Or more familiar example is, if there is a pond, the sun reflecting in it will be bright and clean and a round disk if the water is perfectly calm and doesn't have any turbidity. If there is turbidity in the water, the reflected sun will not be all that clear, will be fuzzy. Added to the turbidity, if there are ripples, disturbance, perturbation, some turbulence, then it will be still worse. So in this consciousness of mind or this awareness of mind, that basic quality of mind, if it has to see itself, it needs a mind. Without the mind, it cannot see itself. Mind is this little sort of disturbance that comes as the first thought, right? So the first thought that generates is the mind. When the mind comes, then only awareness becomes aware of itself. Otherwise, it doesn't even know. Right?
It becomes aware of itself as the perturbation.
Pardon me?
It becomes aware of itself as the perturbation.
No. Okay, then I'll expand a bit on that. Funnily, what happens is, when the mind comes as an interface, instead of seeing the perturbation, what it sees is multiplicity. It suddenly breaks itself into a Deborah there, or a Bart here, or a Gail there, a me here, a dog there, or a carpet here. It suddenly decomposes into these things. So no danger there also. You see, like children viewing in a kaleidoscope, all funny patterns. We do not normally leave it there, this multiplicity of images. We claim some images as mine, this leg and this trunk and this shirt as mine, and so many things as not mine. So the mine, ego, the small I, which we normally identify as myself, that generates a separate me here, contracted here into this body, and a world comprising all others out there. So when the mind comes, consciousness or awareness doesn't see the perturbation, it sees the multiplicity. That is the funny trick that happens, and nobody really knows why it should happen so. That's a mystery. And in fact, nothing happens there. That is another mystery. Here again, the tool of the analysis of the three states of consciousness helps. So I will talk a couple of minutes on this, and then we will break for questions. You see, in the dream analogy, there is a real deep, profound meaning about the creation of this whole world itself. In your dream, you may see varieties of objects, animals, gadgets, persons. You may even discuss, talk, even fight, you run, all sorts of things happen. But are there so many entities in your dream which are living and doing these things in the dream world? No, it is your mind only. You know, if I dream of Scott and somebody else and all that, in that dream is my mind only, which is taking a little bit shape of Scott, a little bit shape of somebody else, a little bit shape of this table. All these things are appearing in my dream. But it's only my dream and my mind which is taking all these shapes. And if I am fighting with David in my dream, actually there is no David and David's mind expressing some thought which is opposing my mind and my thought. It's my mind only playing the trick of acting like David's mind, Ramesam's mind, and even the fight and shouting, everything is the shape of the mind only. So mind is creating this world. Okay, this world is what we call as the wakeful state world, is also a creation of the mind. So non-duality extends this analogy of dream and says, whatever you are dreaming when you sleep is a continuity without any disturbance going on as your wakeful world. So there is absolutely no difference at all between wakeful and dream states. So just as you have created your dream world and all the objects there, including there may be a beautiful dinner laid out there with all silverware and all of you sitting there and expressing different opinions on Democratic Party versus Republicans and what is the election. All those things are your mind taking into these shapes, including that fork and knife and that cake being cut. Similarly, this world is also nothing but a projection of your mind. So at one stage you may say, I have this projection of this world here. You have a different projection of this world here. So you are in a different world of your own bubble universe. I am in a different world, my own bubble universe. So if there are 7 billion people on this world, it's not one world being seen by the 7 billion people. There are 7 billion worlds being seen by one consciousness. Like myself seeing through this window or that window, I have a different scene there. So this consciousness is seeing through that window called Ramesam, sees through this window called Bard. So a different appearance is there and a different scenario is there. That means a multiverse is more like that. Some of these verses may be overlapping. But if you work it up still further, there is no multiverse even. Again, coming back to the dream analogy, there is no David, there is no Bard, there is no Laru there in my dream separately. They are all made up of my mind. So even if you have this multiverse, all these are my dream, including your dream. Whatever you are dreaming is my dream, projected as your dream within my dream. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm sitting here going, I'm dreaming you,
Right.
and I'm thinking, in the old days, I would think, well, you're dreaming me.
Right. That's your dream. Including that is your dream.
But that's my dream.
Right.
My dream is dreaming you, that there's a dream of you dreaming me.
So there is none but you alone. That is true Kaivalya oneness. There is nothing else, nobody else in this world. So the moment I wake up my dream, all that dinner plate, David, everybody arguing with me, everything just disappears. So when I am dreaming all this, when I wake up, whole world disappears. That's the real disappearance of the snake. See, a lot of non-dual teaching here stops at the level of saying that me is not a confined entity here, is not a contracted entity here. So there is nothing like a self. But that's not real non-duality. It takes you much beyond. There is nothing else other than you alone. Even if you are hearing me talking, it is you, your mind, projecting all this, including this talk, this hearing. Nothing is coming from anywhere outside. And you wake up, even this talk is useless, like a dream is gone. I think we'll stop here. Gail had again suggested also. Oh, thank you. Not in the sense of closing the talk, I said, I thought that I should talk for a smaller duration and let there be a longer debate. But I don't know time-wise how we are. So, in the sense that we can open for discussion, if some questions specifically, yes, sir.
Well, and I don't want to dominate, so if anybody has questions. But I had this idea, and this came from one of our talks, I think. So a man is laying, and you help me clear it a bit. So a man is laying alongside the mirror.
A man is?
Laying alongside, he's laying down alongside the road.
Okay.
He feels the dirt, the pebbles on the road. The sun is shining down, so he sees the sun. And then the trucks go by, so he smells the trucks and hears them. So then he dies. So the sun is still shining, but he's not aware of it. The pebbles are still there, the trucks are going by. So, and he has all the mechanical pieces to register. In other words, his eyes are still there. His sensing organs are all still there, but he's not alive, so they're not working. So in that picture, the only thing that's not there is his aliveness or his consciousness. So now if you pump him back up, heart starts pumping, life starts coming back into the form. Then you can see that out those eyes come the sun. Then they meet the sun. Then the feelings meet the road. It's like, that helped me see that we got it all backwards. Or does this make sense?
You say you revive him from death. So what is the...
Well, then all of a sudden the sun appears.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of the sun shining down on me, there's the sun. It's like my consciousness is going out and meeting the sun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like my consciousness is going out and meeting the road. My consciousness is going out and meeting the sun.
Right.
But isn't his consciousness the sun and the road? Isn't that his consciousness? They're not separate.
No. I think I should clarify a couple of things first. In the death of that man, you are assuming consciousness has gone somewhere. It's not there. That statement itself is not true. Consciousness, there is nothing here which is not made up of consciousness.
So even the dead man is...
Right. That the sort of consciousness we are talking about. The consciousness, you see, suppose for this Christmas occasion you have brought a lot of balloons. Okay? So balloons are all just lying flapped, crumpled. Now you blow air into each one of them and a big bundle has come now. Suppose one balloon is popping up. What happened? The air has not gone anywhere. From within that balloon is just again there only. Does air go anywhere? The familiar example is the pot space versus the entire universal space. Suppose there are so many little clay pots made. The potter doesn't make a pot and then put space into it. Right? This pot itself is made in space. Like that, the body is also made in awareness.
Then what happens that the eyes stop seeing and the ears stop hearing?
Okay, I put a counter question to you.
Okay.
Can you ever experience death by yourself? You don't. You can't. Can you experience your own birth? You can't. Because that death or birth are not there. They are the pink elephants.
It's just the name we give to them.
We give a name to a temporary appearance.
But I don't know that I can't experience it.
But the consciousness which you are referring to is lost in a dead man. That is at the level of the mind and the activity of the mind. So that psychologist's consciousness is not the same consciousness which we talk about in non-duality. This is awareness. Normally this confusion comes, that you see, in your deep sleep also you have lost all senses of the world. Okay? And then this consciousness, when it becomes aware of a sun or something like that, it's not that it is carrying the history of memory into it and then recognizing the sun. Every moment is a fresh appearance. So including the dead body and the whole scene, that's one scene at that moment. If that fellow gets rejuvenated, revived, it's a different scene altogether, disconnected with the earlier one. There's no memory, there's no history. It's altogether a totally different thing, unrelated. There is no causal relationships. See, the cause and effect relationships, they come only when the mind is operational. Otherwise, in non-duality, there is nothing like a cause and an effect. So the analysis of cause-effect relationships is another tool.
So are you saying that there's two, so there's a consciousness there, there's a consciousness there when the eyes are seeing, right?
There is a consciousness, a scene, and a sensation and experience
Right.
at that time. Oh, what? A new experience.
Now, is that
It's ever always a new thing being born.
but is that,
There's nothing dead.
Is that a different consciousness than
No,
when
why?
the body is dead?
See, when we say different, you are differentiating them on the basis of the time dimension, right?
Yes.
But time itself doesn't exist as well as space itself doesn't exist. Time, space don't exist within awareness because all sensations, whatever you feel, experience, they are at that moment. Why do you feel as if there is a lapse of time and change? That's because you are interposing the mind and seeing through the mind. Otherwise, this raw awareness by itself can't see even itself. It doesn't do anything. And that's what you are. Totally stable, unperturbed, unchanging. Only when the mind is coming, that moves. So the part of this awareness, when it moves, becomes the mind. So when movement comes, time involvement is there, distance involvement is there. Right? So when you compare in terms of a time, somebody active, seeing the sun, dead, not seeing the sun, rejuvenated, seeing the sun, this progressive change is on the time plane, so the mind is interfering there with its memory mechanisms, memory disk brought in for comparison. Awareness doesn't bother. For awareness, it's always a fresh creation, a fresh sensation.
So you can't take your awareness of this life. When this body quits and the awareness and this body ends, you can't take that awareness into some other time beyond. You're saying your consciousness is there, but it's always refreshed?
Consciousness is always there, and when the mind comes in between, as I said, like you need a mirror for your eyes to see themselves, consciousness needs the mind to see itself. Right?
Consciousness needs.
Well, I would say
That awareness within you.
needs the mirror to be aware of itself.
Aware of itself, and the moment you bring in the mind, it distorts the picture.
And I was wondering if there's a way that you can drag your awareness of this time, when it ends in this body, into a consciousness if it gets continued somewhere.
No, consciousness is all over all the time. It doesn't have to continue anywhere. There is no space to move, there is no time to move. It's always there.
No past lives.
No past life at all.
And no future lives?
Naturally, see, your desire to continue with your own relationships, with your acquisitions, properties, that desire wants to continue. Otherwise, there is nothing like a rebirth and nothing. Because as we said, there is no birth to it, there is no death to it, where from can rebirth come? There's no scope for rebirth also.
It's not there on either end, right?
Yeah. So, you see, all these problems are coming because when the mind comes in between, instead of ourselves remembering that we are this awareness which is looking at itself using the mirror, we suddenly feel we are that fluctuation, that we are that mirror, this mirror itself. Because thought is mind. So mind is nothing like a big substance sitting there over our head. A thought is mind. And thought, as you know, comes and goes. But you are not coming and going anywhere. You are aware of that thought coming and thought going away, irrespective of the content of the thought. I may think of a nice food, I may think of nice car, or beating somebody, it doesn't matter, good thought, bad thought, immaterial. But thought comes and goes. You are always there. So thought is that mind.
So when you say you, are you referring to consciousness of a particular person?
You see, consciousness is not again possessed by you or him or specific. It's common.
So
Like space. You see this space, right?
So you're talking to space.
okay. Now there are at least number of
Space is talking to itself. So, yeah, there is no talker, there is no listener, unless we bring in the minds.
So is the mind a function of being in the time continuum and being physical? Is the mind and the ego the same thing, and it only exists when you're
In thought.
physical and
In thought.
in the time continuum?
See, this basic raw consciousness with its three qualities of beingness, knowingness and happiness, that is there. It doesn't change. Now, a little movement occurring somewhere for some reason. You may give 101 explanations for that. We will not get into it now. This little movement is the first thought that comes in you.
But the consciousness created that.
That's what I said. How this little movement gets created is not known. We can give 101 explanations. I will not go into it. Okay? Because even in the best of scriptures, we don't really get a very unique, clear answer to that. Why that happens. So this little movement automatically implies action, right? Movement is action. Action is work done. So movement can always be in time. If something has to move from here to there, it has to be either in space or in time. So mind with its movement automatically brings in time and space. But what is this mind? Only your thought. And what is that real thought? Really speaking, it's all just awareness. For some reason, little disturbance there. So this little disturbance thought coming and going, no harm at all. But if I start identifying this as my thought, oh, that's very good, I'm pretty, I want this, and then I build a memory disk of I was born like this, I am qualified like this, I am fat, thin, black, white, and then I keep this memory disk perpetually, and every thought I keep comparing with this memory disk, and the ego builds up. So ego doesn't build up just at that very first stroke of the thought. Ego builds up by constant rehearsal. Right?
Is the ego
So
a
if-
creation of consciousness?
Pardon me?
Is the ego a creation of consciousness?
Oh, you can word it like that, but it's an approximation. Because consciousness doesn't even create. It's totally actionless. But for our understanding, we can say it as a little excuse that consciousness creates this perturbance. There's somebody call it Maya. Why this perturbance? Somebody call it. It's no explanation. It's just a name. Like Newton calling things falling down to the earth as gravity. What is gravity? He doesn't know. He didn't know. Newton didn't know. It took 250 years for Einstein to come and say what is gravity. When Newton built up the laws of attraction between various bodies, that F is equal to ma or whatever formula he built, at that time he never had an idea of what gravity was, and he regretted it. In his book Philosophica, it's regrettable, I don't know what gravity is. Like that, this Maya is another name given. What does it mean?
What is Maya?
Maya is illusory appearance.
Illusion? Okay.
See, like this
Veil.
snake appearing instead of the rope. Why does that snake appear there for you? I mean, this rope, snake was never there. And then there is no question of whether snake and rope were two or only one. If they are two, then where has the snake gone? Similarly, the mind and consciousness, are they two or one? These are unanswerable.
Okay.
So my awareness and my consciousness are totally separate things. My awareness is something that is part of my physical body, part of my mind. My consciousness is something deeper, something part of everything. And so, am I right on that, or am I?
It all depends how you are giving meaning to those words, consciousness and awareness.
Well, awareness is whatever I see and feel and think in my mind, whatever is
The sensations.
that's the sensation.
Okay.
That's awareness.
Okay.
And that is strictly in my mind and strictly part of this body. My consciousness.
No,
is
you are
something-
already jumping there. You see, when you have these sensations, mind comes in only when you start interpreting and giving a story around that sensation. This sensation of a nice body, or sensation of a comfortable sofa, or tasty food, when I give a name to it, compare it with my memory, then only mind is coming. Otherwise, the sensation itself is your awareness. As we have seen earlier, there are no two things of awareness and that sensation felt there.
This is why sometimes people say non-conceptual awareness, right?
Right. Concept is all within the mind, because concept is a thought.
Yes.
Thought is mind.
It's emptiness, really.
That's what the nihilists call
What?
What is?
nihilism.
Nihilism.
Nihilism. They call it as emptiness. But it's not really empty, because as we have seen, our consciousness or awareness, whatever word we use, is appearing all like this whole world. So mind is in effect, is this consciousness.
Okay, so
You were asking some question there and we diverted.
yeah, let's say someone starts at time instant 0. There is nothing there, no history, nothing. We're starting at time instant 0. We took a snapshot, and at time instant 1, we take another snapshot of whatever is there. Right? Now, the snapshot itself, two different snapshots. Those two different snapshots are two different consciousness, or so I'm confused as in, is there only one consciousness for the whole world, or each person has a separate consciousness?
Well, you see, there is only one consciousness
Okay, so
for
if
the
you
whole
say
world.
that, now definitely everyone would agree that there is something which is separate within each one of us.
Right.
So what do you name that, or how do you describe that?
Yeah. You see,
That's what I was calling awareness. I don't know.
yeah, Francis Lucille has given this analogy, but Advaita in his scriptures has a different one. We'll talk both. Consciousness at an individual level when you are talking, it is something like that window there which provides you one scene. Now, if I look through this window, I have a different scene. So there are different windows, right? So that is, this consciousness is say, centrally located here. It's the same consciousness looking through that window, and same consciousness looking through this window.
So this is
No, let me complete, so that you get the analogy fully. When you are talking about different people, I am fragmenting this window scene to be different from this window scene. So this window operates like a mind there of a person. This window is like another mind of another person. So at the level of the minds, you can say there are different people looking at different things. But the basic consciousness which is illuminating all of them is just one.
So now you were giving example of a person dreaming, right? Let's say it's your dream and you're dreaming multiple people there. So there is one mind or one entity which has created these different, seemingly different entities, and they are discussing or doing something. So for that one mind, since you have this one particular central location, that mind, you can say that it is this mind's consciousness. That is the dream, right? And so within a dream, you could take multiple snapshots, and you can say each snapshot, over a period of time, the consciousness is seeing some different things. Now, when we are in reality, right, each one has a different mind. So if I say that, or let's say if you say that whatever I see is me, as in the whole world is projection of what I am, then as in something tells me that if that is the case, then nothing is real.
Exactly, when you said, got it, wonderful.
You got it.
Yes.
Actually, I was looking for something which counters that. Because I was hoping this is real.
Okay, that is the, see, wonderful, wonderful. So I'm to the extent my talk is successful. Well, the point is, you see, we normally think at a relative level, the dream is unreal and the wakeful world is real, and we use that terminology. But no, both are equally unreal. Just like your dream is a projection of your mind, even this wakeful world is a projection of the mind.
But then there has to be some central entity, right? Let's say if...
That is this consciousness, awareness, knowingness, beingness, presence. Yeah.
So like for Buddhism, they talk about reaching enlightenment.
Sorry, I am not able to follow your...
In Buddhism,
Buddhism,
they
yeah.
talk about enlightenment and reaching that blissful state of just oneness with all that is. Is that what you're talking about? Just the non-duality, understanding that all is one, like it's just all one consciousness, all one awareness. And this is the illusion. Is that sort of what reaching enlightenment is about?
Right. You see, Buddhism also is non-dual to that extent, but as Gale raised the question of nihilism, they said it's emptiness. Whereas in non-duality, Advaita, it is everything, what I am, what this table, that book, these are all there, it's not empty. So non-duality doesn't speak of emptiness, it's all. That's why this form is one-way emptiness. But emptiness, there's some sentences there like that. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness, something like that.
All is nothing. Nothing is all.
Nothing is all, that's the terminology of Rupert.
So
Yeah.
how do you keep from, oh jeez. As I've been studying non-duality, I've become aware of the neutrality of all. And I don't like it.
Who is not liking? Your mind, ego has already come in.
Right?
So the judgmental aspect of the mind, that's the one actually which is creating all problems.
Oh, you bet.
Right? Because the moment I say I like this, I dislike that, So I already started owning some things as me and mine, as some things as not me and mine. And the struggle and the whole sorrow builds up there. So the ego is now concretized there. And so when the movement is there of the mind, I am identifying with that mind.
So what? I'm almost drifting into nihilism when I realize that, and that is also uncomfortable. The nihilism, feeling that, so what? Yeah. Who cares? Who cares? So what if I'm enlightened? So what if I'm one? So what if we're all one? Who cares? And it obviously upsets me.
Right. See, that's the emphasis which is missing in many of the teachings. They carry you up to that nihilism, whatever it is. And still when you say this question comes up, what is it? That means there is somebody else still popping up, asking for some purpose, asking for benefit, asking for usefulness. So that's not really nihilism at all. Still there is somebody. It's not totally nihilistic. You have not attenuated all such little popping things, right? That's part one. Then second more important point is, with this understanding of total oneness, so-called morality in the society is not to be imposed externally.
Say that again.
The moral, behavioral
Or
judgments and relationship managements, they don't have to be externally imposed. Love your neighbor, treat the other as yourself. These commandments, they all become meaningless. Because, you see, this hand never feels this leg to be separate. It doesn't take a hammer and beat it. Right? There is an intrinsic understanding of this oneness. Like this, there is an intrinsic understanding of this oneness. So there is no person here trying to harm that person or to dictate moral behavior. No. Similarly, what is the relationship of the back of my neck with the calf muscle? No relationship has to be established in that oneness. So in that oneness, as whatever that is, nameless thing, happiness is automatically there. Love is automatically there. That is the true morality. That's the true morality. There is no external religious or social or legal disciplinary teachings, observations, commandments. No. That automatically comes in. You may say roughly that could be one use, but that's a very, very preliminary, primitive way of saying. Yes, Gail.
Well, it's just reminded of Richard Rohr, the Franciscan priest who spoke at the conference, and that's what he said. It's almost like the moral code is very limited.
All right.
The concrete moral code that we've been given is very limited, whereas if we get this oneness, we know we're just hurting ourselves.
No, but you don't have to consciously feel, I am one with her, I am one with...
Yeah,
you don't, because when you start to feel like that, there are actually two. And two things can never become one.
They're both different.
They can never, you see, these young boys and girls, they think my mind is her mind, we all... minds can never become one. This table and me can never become one as long as we stay as table and a person. Objects will always be different. As long as we identify them, recognize them as objects. Because I have fragmented, named, given limitations to it, within this whole oneness, that oneness is me. By fragmenting, limiting, identifying it as an object, already mind has crept in. So I want to give you the other simile. In India, particularly not this time, November month, Kartika month, they hang pots with lots of holes in it up in the on a pole in temples, and they put a little lamp inside, right? So many holes all around are there in the pot. So one ray of light goes here, sees you. Another ray of light goes there, sees her. Another ray goes here. So different holes show different things illuminated. But the central lamp is same. So this consciousness, awareness, beingness is that lamp. These little holes are the individual minds. So each mind shows a different world. Right? But the whole world outside is one. Outside that pot is one. And that pot is getting this, is showing, or rather, the holes in the pot are showing these different things because of the illumination coming from this single lamp. So the lights up is the good word Jordan used. So this lamp is lighting up whatever is seen. So you cannot really break up what is seen into these different things. It's all just same light, illumination. Okay, let me give you this example. It's already dark, unfortunately. There is sun. You see sunlight falling on the road. As you come through the window, maybe there's some light falling through the window on your carpet. You move a little bit away, there is still diffused light. Now tell me where exactly the sun begins and the sunlight ends, or the diffused light begins. Only for functional purposes, you say this is diffused light, that is bright sunlight, that is outdoor light, and way beyond is sun. No, even here this is sun. You have arbitrarily named there somewhere, unknown distance, as sun. What reason do you have to name it as sun? Nothing. You don't have any reason to call that as sunlight, this as diffuse light. It's all same continuity. Only for your convenience, operational purposes, you divide these things. What is illuminating the whole world? So this consciousness, that single one, illuminates all these things. They say that's why the consciousness is brighter than even the sun, because even the sun with all its brightness has to be known by you. If it is not known by you, it's no good there. You see, if anything to be existent there as the sun, even with all its brightness, has to be known by you, by your consciousness, awareness, knowingness. If your knowingness doesn't function, brightness of the sun has no meaning. So even the sun with all its brilliance is merely an object, an inert object, like that table or that teddy bear, unless your consciousness illuminates it, lights it. So this whole world you see, which is a projection of your mind, is seen by you because your consciousness is illuminating it. And it is that illumination you are seeing, you are knowing. So your knowingness projecting there, which is recognized by you. I'll give you another example. You have a bright moon shining, right? When you see bright moon over there, next to it is all darkness. So what is that in that space? Is there no light?
There is nothing to reflect it.
Exactly. So unless an object comes up, then in between you cannot say whether there is something or not, whether that light is there or not. Like that, let me just complete this. Like the object coming up in open space and showing you the brilliance of the light, the mind comes up and shows this whole world as illuminated. Right? Even if in the dark night, even if there is no sun in that night, obviously, if you put a moon there, moon is shining. That means sun is always there and sunlight is also there. Like that, your consciousness, awareness, beingness, happiness is illuminating everything. So the mind has to come like a little object and show you. The mind coming means the whole world is appearing. So it is mind only which is the world. Yes, sir, you are asking something. Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Well, Hildy said we need to wrap up kind of after this.
Yeah, she has a question.
Yeah.
So there's only one consciousness, and then there are the wholes
Right.
that are all of us, and there's this illusion of individualized, I guess why? Why did that one? It's a big question, but like, why did that one light? Why is it shining through different holes? Why isn't it just pure?
All right. Why should this world come at all? That's the sort of question Aristotle also raised. As I said, there are at least 20 explanations for that. One explanation is that it is, whatever that consciousness is, they attribute to it divinity, a godliness, and God sitting there as if tried to play with himself and created this. So this is one way of explanation which is nonsense, obviously. Unless you want to believe in a God, right? Unless you want to believe in a God and with all superpowers and a silly concept of a play by a God, why should he play? But that is one explanation if somebody gets convinced. Another explanation is the Maya theory, illusion. It's not really, you see, that's actually the truth. It's not really anything being there. It's your imagination. When a snake appears in a row, in semi-darkness, was there at any time a snake at all? But you reacted, you were scared, you were running. Was there a snake at any time at all? No. But you are scared at that moment. When you believed that was a snake, you believed it at that moment. Because you believed in your imagination. You never knew the truth.
Yeah, but there were all these things were here before the man who the man
Okay.
women before men and women who are cognitive of all these things were here. Those things were here before that. There was a sun here before that. There was an earth here before that.
Yeah, but this is all a story.
It's not all this that's around us is not an illusion.
It
We
is.
may all see it differently, but it's not an illusion. It's all real.
That's what we say from this relative wakeful state. When you get up from the dream, what happened to all that elephant rides and merry-go-rounds and fights and other people? Where have they gone? They were never there to start with.
They're all there. They're all
Right?
there.
Yeah, no,
they're all there.
in your dream,
all
you
there.
see a river running.
Yeah.
You
In my
are,
dream, yeah, they're not there. But
when you
in
wake
my
up,
waking reality now, they're there.
no, with
They've
reference,
always been there.
no. Compared to the wakeful state, you may make that statement.
Yeah.
But it's only a question of relativity in distance and space. Otherwise, the dream reality not being there is also same thing as this wakeful reality not being there. As long as you were arguing and fighting and discussing in your dream, that was a reality. If you tell that dream person there, he would not believe it. That when if you tell him you are not really there, it's all your imagination. He won't believe it. Yeah, we got the.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.